So we are going to start our class discussion on the race today. Remember that we are recording this, so if you are called on to speak up and answer a question, make sure you speak up, right? Nice and loudly. I do want to go over just one more thing before we get started, and that is the themes of, I always forget to have one of these up before we start. The themes of the race. So we talked a little bit about this yesterday, but the themes of the race. The race actually has, I would argue, for about 3 different themes. So, what are you guys' thoughts on that? Talon?
Passion.
Passion. Okay, well, let's add a 4th one. Okay.
Competition.
Competition. We talked about that. The word I used was winning. And so this idea of winning and what winning means. What does winning actually mean? Does it mean you take first place or does it mean something else? Right? What's important about winning? Okay. Brady, you had your hand up?
I think it means something.
Okay. Pull your mask down. Louder.
I think it means something else.
Think it means something else? Okay. Talon.
Like winning the moment.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Johnny?
It would I think it would mean being the best at something.
Can you be a winner without getting first place?
Yeah.
In certain ways, yeah. You can.
That's right.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so Talon mentioned the word passion, and that goes along with my my second one, which would be courage. Doing the right thing even when it's hard. There are a couple of times in this story when she does the right thing and it costs her something. But she does it anyway, which takes courage. Okay, and then the third one I want to talk about, it's still really important in this story, although it's not quite as obvious. And when I say it, you guys if you finish the story, you'll be like, yeah. And that's the importance of family.
Yeah.
And what that looks like and how we treat people in our family and how sometimes people act a certain way because they've been hurt or they're afraid. And we treat them with kindness and forgiveness, right? Forgiveness is a big one in this story. So winning, courage, and family are the 3 main themes that I see in this story. And remember, the theme is not the same as the plot. Sometimes I think some of you guys were getting a little bit confused when I asked for themes on other tests. So remember, the theme is not what happens in the story. The theme is the big idea that the author is trying to tell us. So as we read this story, as we go through, the author wants to tell us something about winning. So what do you think this story tells us about what winning means? Okay? And then the author's trying to tell us something about courage. What do you think she's trying to tell us about courage? And then, it's a rhetorical question. And then the third one, family. What is the author trying to tell us about family? And that's where we're going to find our themes. Okay? Now, sled dog racing. A little bit of background on sled dog racing. The most common breeds. Anybody know what the 2 most common breeds used in sled dog racing are, Hope? Alaskan Huskies. No. Sorry, Siberian Huskies. I said that wrong. Siberian Huskies. Anybody know what the other one is? Anybody know? Brady?
Alaskan. Oh, Alaskan.
Alaskan what?
I think it's...
You probably don't know. This might not be a breed you've heard of.
I totally forgot what the second part was.
Okay. Malamutes. Alaskan Malamutes is the name of the breed.
Yeah.
Okay. These dogs, the Siberian Huskies and the Alaskan Malamutes, are about 2 feet tall at the shoulders. When they talk about how tall a dog is, they're talking about how tall the dog is at its shoulders. And they weigh around 60 pounds. So they're not huge dogs, but they're not little dogs either. They're good size, good chunk of dog. Sled dogs are really amazing. Like trained sled dogs are something else. The demands that are put on sled dogs are amazing. There can be as many as 18 dogs on a team, and it varies by race. Okay. The sled itself weighs 30 pounds, but then they load the sled up with provisions. Because typically these races, especially like the most famous one is the Iditarod in Alaska, and it takes days. And so you've got to load that sled up not just with your person self, but like all the stuff you need, all your food, your sleeping bag, your everything that you need for this very long race. It can be up to 600 pounds of stuff, plus the person that the team of sled dogs is pulling. And then if any dogs get injured,
Then they go on the sled.
they go on the sled. And that just adds to what the rest of them. 20 miles an hour is about as fast as it can go. But I want you to think about, because we think about 20 miles an hour as not being very fast, right? In our cars, it feels really slow. But if you're on an animal going 20 miles an hour, you can feel the speed. It gets really fast for a person to be going. Yes?
One time, my mom was going like 10 miles an hour on like off-road. And I was like, I can run faster than this. So I got out and I tried to run. And I couldn't keep
and
up.
You cannot. No, you can't. You might be able to have a short spurt where that's your pace. But yeah, no. Like the guys who run the Olympics, in the Olympics, and they do the 100-meter dash, that person's, the winner of that race is considered the fastest person alive. But a human can't sustain that speed for much longer than 100 meters. You can't, there's no way. Which is why marathon runners run completely differently than sprinters, right? But this is really fast. So if you had a pet a Siberian Husky, if you had a pet husky,
Yay.
your pet at home, maybe you walk it every day, whatever, but your pet at home would need about 1,500 calories a day. That's about how much a dog of that size would consume.
Wow.
A sled dog in training needs up to 10,000 calories a day.
Not as much? What?
More.
Way
1,500.
More.
So a pet dog of that size would need about 1,500 calories.
That's a lot.
A sled dog in training, up to 10,000, depending on what they're doing on any given day. Because keep in mind, what is the weather like when you're on a sled?
Cold.
Very, very cold. So the animal is expending calories to keep warm, plus it's expending calories pulling the sled. So there's a lot. It's like the difference between, me and a weightlifter, a professional weightlifter. Like if you guys all know who Dwayne Johnson is, The Rock, right?
Mm-hmm.
You guys all know who that is.
Yeah, no.
He was in Moana, movie Moana.
He was Maui.
He played Maui in the movie Moana. He's a big guy. He's like 6'4" and weighs like 250 pounds. But he also lifts weights every single day. So if you were to look up how much he eats in a day, he eats like 3,000 to 4,000 calories a day. A regular person eats about 2,000 calories a day. Now, Dwayne Johnson is not fat at all. There's not hardly an ounce of fat on his body because he works out all the time. But because he lifts very, very, very heavy weights, he has to have a lot more calories than a regular person. If I ate 4,000 calories a day, I would be very ginormous. Right? I would be like, I'm a little round right now, but I would be like really round. Because a normal person doesn't need that many calories because a normal person doesn't use that many calories. It's the same with these sled dogs. The Iditarod is the most famous sled dog race. Do any of you know, this story, by the way, does not take place in Alaska. Do any of you know how long, or can you guess how long the Iditarod race is? How many miles is it? Johnny, how many miles do you think it is?
100.
More. Brady?
2,000.
I can't hear you.
2,000.
Less.
1,000.
It is 1,100 miles, and it goes from Anchorage, Alaska to Nome, Alaska, and it takes about 2 weeks to complete. Do you know what the person on the sled, driving the sled, is called? The human on the sled.
I know what the dogs are called, but
Nope.
I know what the dogs and their positions are called, but I don't know.
You would be, if you were driving the dog sled, if you were the human driving the dog sled, you would be called the musher.
The what?
The musher. Because they yell mush to the dogs to get them to go, so they're the musher. It takes, like I said, about 2 weeks. And this is, parts of it take place on the original trail where sled dogs were used to deliver mail, because there are a lot of places in Alaska where you can't get by car. You can only get by plane or boat or walking. So they used to get their mail with sled dogs. One of the most famous events was in 1925. Sled dogs carried medical equipment to Nome, Alaska to save
Children.
some people. Yeah. Anyway, really, I think for me, very fascinating. Okay, now, let's get started. We don't have a ton of time left, but we've got a little bit of time. On the first page, on page 65 in your book, in the first column, I want you to look and see if you can find a simile. Now you will remember, who can tell me what a simile is? Talon?
Using like or as.
Okay, yes, it's a comparison that uses like or as. So two things that are basically unalike, but they have like maybe one or two things in common, and you do use the word like or as. So look in that first column, see if you can find me a simile. Okay, Brady?
The harness made of white band.
Do you see the words like or as in that? No, a simile has the words like or as. Talon?
White ashwood racing sled on top where it sat like a strange wild bird.
Where it sat like a strange wild bird. So what are the two things being compared there? Johnny?
Astrid racing sled and a strange wild bird.
Yeah, it's comparing the sled to a bird. Now, a sled and a bird don't really have anything in common, but
They both move.
they both move. They're fast, maybe. I don't know. If you're going over a hill, maybe a sled might fly.
They both can be fast.
I think it has more to do with kind of the odd way it looks. And, you think about like some of those tropical birds that kind of look really funky and weird. Like they have the long skinny legs or the weird heads and that kind of thing. Right. So it's sort of making a comment about how it just kind of looks funny perched up there. Okay. I want you to think about imagery. Okay. So imagery is what? What is imagery? Johnny?
It's one of the 5 senses that the author is trying to describe.
Yeah. So it's a descriptive words or phrases that involve one of your 5 senses. So with reading, typically, it's most of the time I would say it's the sense of sight, because words that kind of paint a picture for you. But you can also have imagery that makes you think of a smell or a sound or a feeling. Yes, Brady.
I already found some.
Can't hear you.
Already found some.
Okay, give me one.
Windbreaker over a thick sweater.
Windbreaker over a thick sweater. Okay. I mean, that's not the best imagery, but
Yeah,
I mean, you know what a thick sweater is. Okay.
That's just what's up.
The snow-covered back roads.
Snow-covered back roads. Yeah. Painting a picture. Okay. So as we go through this, you're going to find a lot of imagery. Okay? A lot of imagery. Now, this story takes place where? What is the setting of this story? What is the setting of this story? Johnny?
Oh, it takes place in the morning.
Well, yes.
It takes place in England?
Not England, New England.
New
Okay. So, where does it take place? New England. Do you know where New England is?
No, I just want to know.
Okay.
I kind of know where.
The New England states are the northeastern states in the United States. They are the original 13 colonies are considered New England. Well, actually, no. No, I said that and that's wrong because Georgia's not considered New England. So when you think about the northeastern part, Vermont, Massachusetts, that area, that's New England. Okay? The winters are very harsh up in New England. And you are correct. When it takes place, well, it begins in the morning. So we'll say daytime. And do we know, do we have a specific year? Do we know? Are any dates given in the story? No, but we will say that this is a modern story, right? There's cars, right? So this is somewhat modern. So modern day. And then events. Remember that a setting can be an event or a culture, like if it takes place during a war, the war is the setting, right? In this case, it would be what? What is the setting?
The dog sled race.
A dog sled race. So remember that the setting involves more than just, boy, that G is kind of funny looking. The setting involves more than just where it takes place. It's when it takes place and the culture in which it takes place. So date, time, place, time, culture. Okay. My teacher's manual says the states that are in New England. I was trying to remember them off the top of my head. That's funny. Connecticut, Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Vermont. That's what we consider New England. So the very northeastern corner of the U.S. Now, Debbie and Mark are our main characters. Who would you say is the protagonist of this story? The main character. Who's the main character? Brady?
Debbie.
Debbie is our main character. And Mark is who? Who is Mark?
Debbie's brother.
Debbie's brother. Very good. Yes.
Also a secondary character.
Yeah. Yes, you could call him a secondary
Or
character.
minor character.
He's not minor because he's very important in the story, right? I would actually say that he is a main character, but he's not the main character. Does that make sense? Do you guys get the difference?
Yeah.
Debbie is the main character, but Mark is very important. So he's not really minor. He's secondary to Debbie, but he's not really a minor character, okay? Because he's very important. In fact, she thinks about him throughout the whole story, right? Okay. So Debbie and Mark. What is their family business? What does their family do? What's their family business, Johnny?
Dog sled racing, and since their dad died, then the dogs haven't been that strong.
Yeah. So they raise dogs. They raise and sell dogs, and they race dogs. Okay. Tell me about some of the things they loaded on the truck. What are some of the things that Debbie and Mark loaded on the truck? Give me one thing, Johnny.
Harnesses.
Harnesses. Talon?
Ski pants.
Ski pants. Brady?
Water pants. Water pans.
Water pans. I thought you said water pants at first, and I'm like, what are water pants? Water pans. Yes, water pans. What else, Johnny?
Hitching lines.
Hitching lines. What else? We got a lot of things. Ladies in the back, I would like you to participate, please.
Please only say one. Go ahead.
You've already said several, Brady.
Okay.
Grace and Hope, I would like for you to look in that first column, please. Some things they're loading into the truck.
Racing sled.
The sled. Yeah, the sled itself, yes. What else?
Dogs.
The dogs. Oh, yeah. What else? Okay, Johnny.
Medicine kit.
The medicine kit. Yeah, that's basically everything. How many dogs do
Oh,
they
the
have?
kennels.
How many dogs do they have?
5.
5 huskies. They have 5 huskies. Now, what is the definition of mood? I know we talked about mood before. It's probably in your notes. It should be. Mood is what? What does it mean? I'm asking for the definition, not for the mood of the story, not yet. What is the definition of mood? What do we mean by that? Do we have it in our notes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mood is the feeling that you feel when you're reading.
Yes. Mood is the atmosphere that the author creates for you. So it's the feeling that you feel when you're reading. Okay, so what is the mood in the first few paragraphs? I'm going to read this out loud, and I want you to be thinking about what kind of mood the author is creating. The morning of the dog sled race, Debbie and her brother Mark were up before the sun had lightened the cold New England sky to finish the chores around the family kennels. They packed their racing equipment in the farm truck. The harnesses made of white bands with each dog's name stitched in red, the hitching lines, water pans, and the medicine kit. Mark tied the light ashwood racing sled on top, where it sat like a strange wild bird. The team of 5 strong husky dogs was lifted into individual boxes built into the truck. When everything was ready, Mark took the wheel and Debbie hoisted herself into the seat beside him. Her clothing was warm and practical for the race. Windbreaker over a thick sweater, ski pants, waterproof boots, and 2 pairs of gloves. Her dark hair was smooth under a ski headband. As they bowled along the deserted highway with snow heaped high on the sides, Debbie tried not to think how much depended on her performance in the race today. She had trained hard, taking the dogs out every day and running them 6 or 7 miles over the snow-covered back roads. But still, she had never come in first in a race, and that's what she had to do for the prize of $200. The money was needed to pay the veterinarian and the feed bills. What's the mood that our author is creating here? What's the feeling you get?
Nervous.
Nervous! That's a great word.
Tense.
Tense! Another great word. And we're not talking about past, present, future here. We're talking like, tense.
Oh, nervous and intense. Nervous and intense.
Intense. Yes. There's tension building here. By the way, it's not an accident that the word tense, the word intense, and the word tension are all similar words, right? When something's intense, we know that tension is building.
A little bit of excitement.
Yes, a little bit of excitement too, right? Sometimes you can have
Scared.
stress that's good.
Scared.
Right. Yes. Sometimes good things cause stress, don't they? My daughter has a word for that. She calls it nervous-sided. When you're nervous and you're excited about something that's going to happen, you're nervous-sided. She made that word up like back in the 1st grade or something. She would say on the first day of school, I'm a little bit nervous-sided. But yeah, it's a good word. And you guys are right. That's the mood. The mood is tense. Are you just waving at me, Grace?
Oh, no.
Okay. Okay. Wow. They're doing something next door. I don't know what they're doing. It sounds like a party over there. Oh, we're not having any fun in here. I don't believe in fun in my class.
like they were yelling Jade.
Who knows? Okay. So within these first paragraphs, you get a glimpse into Debbie's thoughts. How is Debbie feeling? What is Debbie feeling? Brady, what is Debbie feeling?
Probably.
I can't hear you, buddy.
Probably nervous, tense. Probably have anxiety.
Yeah.
Anxious.
Anxious.
I was also gonna say anxious for the football one too.
Okay.
She's probably scared that her business and everything is depending on her to win this race.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure for a kid.
That's like tons.
Right? That's a lot of pressure. We got some coming of age themes going on in this story too, right? A young person overcoming some kind of obstacle, right? Okay. Actually, we're going to stop there because it's time to get ready for history. So we will continue our discussion tomorrow.
Yay, history.